All right, this is the 5 a.m. calendar for March the 12th. The court's orders for the taking of fingerprints and DNA samples made on the first calendar on the first day of the month will apply to all hearings on the calendar. You're each going to be called up individually to the podium. We'll call 2 people at a time. The first person will stand at the podium. The second person will sit in the chair by the door. The first person we'll see this morning is number 16, Miss Primes, followed by Jessica Woods. We have Lachey. Ma'am, please state your name.
Lachey Siobhan Primes.
And your date of birth.
4/12/83.
Ma'am, you're here on a probation violation for a Class 4 felony. I have found you to be indigent and appointed a public defender to represent you. The court has asked for a bond of $5,000. I've affirmed that secured appearance bond. If you post the bond, you're not to have any contact with any of the arresting officers. You're not to possess any weapons. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription. You're not to drive a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license. You're to continue to provide the court with proof of a local address. And lastly, you're to contact your probation officer within 72 hours. Your next court date on this case will be a probation revocation hearing on March the 19th at 8:30, with a possible disposition hearing also on March the 19th at 8:30. Do you have any questions, ma'am?
No.
All right, thank you very much. The officer will
Thank
read
you.
the paper. Good luck, ma'am. Ms. Woods, followed by Ryan Begay. Good morning, ma'am. You can stand at the podium and state your name, please.
Jessica Woods.
And your date of birth.
2896.
Ma'am, you're here on a probation violation warrant for a Class 6 felony. I have found that you're indigent and appointed the public defender to represent you. On this case, there's been a secured appearance bond set in the amount of $250. If you post the bond, you're not to have any contact with any arresting officers. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription or drive without a valid driver's license. You continue to provide court with proof of your local address, and if you're released, to contact the probation department within 72 hours. Your next court date on this case will be a probation revocation hearing and possible disposition hearing on March the 19th at 8:30 in the Superior Court at 201 West Jefferson. The court date and all the information will be on the paper that the officer will give you. Do you have any questions, ma'am?
No.
All right, you can step right back over there then. Mr. Begay, followed by Larry Patton.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Please state your name.
Ryan Begay, 9/23/1987.
All right. Sir, you're here on a warrant from the Goodyear Municipal Court for 2 counts of disorderly conduct, Class 1 misdemeanors. At this point, the court cannot determine whether or not you're indigent. At your next court date, the court can determine whether or not you're entitled to counsel. I have affirmed the bond that was set by the municipal court of $500. It's a secured appearance bond. If you post the bond, you're not to have any contact with any alleged victim or witness. You would have no contact with any you're not to initiate contact with any arresting officer. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription or drive without a valid driver's license. You must continue to provide the court with proof of your local address. Your next court date will be an arraignment hearing on March the 19th at 8:30 in the Goodyear Municipal Court. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, ma'am, sir.
Okay. The officer will give you the paperwork with your court date on it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good luck, sir. Mr. Patton, followed by Donovan Jackson. Sir, please state your name.
Larry Patton, Jr.
And your date of birth, sir?
4/2/74.
Sir, you're here on a Superior Court bench warrant for failing to appear on the charges of possessing narcotic drugs, possessing dangerous drugs, both Class 4 felonies, as well as possession of drug paraphernalia, Class 6 felony. The public defender has been appointed to represent you. The court has set a secured appearance bond in the amount of $2,000. That's the bond that the judge issued when the arrest warrant was issued. If you post the bond, you're not to initiate contact with any arresting officer. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription or drive a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license. You're to continue to provide the court with proof of your local address. Your next court date will be a status conference on March the 14th at 8:30 in the Superior Court at 201 West Jefferson. Do you have any questions, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, so the officer will give you some paperwork. Mr. Jackson, followed by Manuel Kirkwood. Sir, please state your name
Donovan Miguel Jackson,
and your date of birth.
October 6th, 1994.
Okay. Sir, you're here on two cases. First, number 6 on the calendar is a probation violation warrant that was issued for your arrest for violating your probation for a Class 6 felony. I have appointed the public defender to represent you. I have affirmed the secured appearance bond of $500 on this case. If you post the bond, you're not to initiate any contact with any arresting officer. You're not to possess any weapons of any type. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription or drive a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license. Because you are on probation, you're to contact the probation department within 72 hours of your release. On number 7 on the calendar, this is another probation violation on a separate cause number. On this case, you're also on probation for a Class 6 felony. The court has also set a secured appearance bond in the amount of $500. The release conditions are exactly the same as your other case, and your court dates are the same. Your court date is a probation revocation arraignment hearing on March the 19th at 8:30 with a possible disposition hearing on the same date in the Superior Court in downtown Phoenix at 201 West Jefferson. Do you have any questions about these two cases, sir?
No, sir.
All right. The officer will give you some paperwork. Good luck, sir. Manuel Kirkwood, followed by Marcelo Ortiz. Sir, please state your name.
Good morning. I'm Manuel Kirkwood. Could I ask a question, please?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, first tell me your date of birth, and then you ask the question.
I was born August the 4th, 1980.
All right, what's your question?
I'm not able to plead to the court for bond or none of that? It's already decided, like I don't get the opportunity to...
If you have a question, sir, you can ask me a question, but bonds have been set. You have, at your next court date, you'll have an attorney who can file a motion with the court. I mean, I'll hear what you have to say once I've given you release conditions. There are times where release conditions have changed based upon what somebody has said.
Yeah, I have a job and everything, and I only have $1,000 to my name. I don't see how I would think that I would get the opportunity to have a reasonable bond and that I can afford. So I've been working and everything. I just graduated from the Phoenix Rescue Mission, so this is something that I'm willing to stand to face and fight. And I want the opportunity to be able to do that from outside.
All right.
I got 2 jobs. I work one at Empire Metal Products, and I work another one at Pro-M. And I know you don't like people to come here and talk about their case, but
I don't mind if people talk about their case, sir, but most of the time it doesn't help them, and everything is being recorded, and there have been times where people have talked about their case and it's been hurt them at trial. But let's talk about your cases first. The first one is number 8 on the calendar, which is a new case, the 2025 matter. On this case, you've been charged with aggravated assault, domestic violence, impeding breathing, which is a Class 4 felony, as well as simple assault, Class 1 misdemeanor. The court has found probable cause as to those charges. At this point, the court has found that you are indigent and appointed the public defender to represent you. I've set a bond actually lower than what the county attorney was recommending in your case, but a bond in this case has been set in the amount of $25,000 as a secured appearance bond.
Wow.
If you post the bond, you'd have absolutely no contact with the alleged victim for any reason. You're not to respond to any contact that the alleged victim may make with you. You may not reside at the same location as the alleged victim, even if you're the owner or renter of the residence. If you have a common residence with the victim, one civil standby with law enforcement will be permitted to retrieve any essential belongings. The other release conditions on this charge, once again, no returning to the scene of the alleged crime, no contact whatsoever with the alleged victim. You're not to initiate any contact with the arresting officers. You're not to possess any weapons of any type. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription or drive without a valid driver's license. You must continue to provide the court with proof of your local address. And since you are on probation, you must contact the probation department within 72 hours of your release. The next case is number 29, which is one of your probation violations. This is a probation violation for a misdemeanor offense. Once again, the public defender has been appointed to represent you. On this case, the secured appearance bond is set in the amount of $500. On this case, you're not to initiate any contact within the arresting officers. You're not to possess any weapons. You're to continue to provide court with proof of your local address and contact the probation department within 72 hours of your release. Your next court date on this probation violation is a probation revocation arraignment hearing on March the 19th, with a possible disposition hearing also on March the 19th in the Downtown Superior Court. The third matter is number 30 on the calendar, which is a probation violation for a Class 4 felony. On this case, the public defender is also appointed to represent you. On this case, the court has set a cash-only appearance bond in the amount of $1,000. The release conditions are the same as your other probation violation case. And your court date is also March the 19th at 8:30 in the morning in the Downtown Superior Court building. Other than asking for a lower bond, are there any other questions, sir? All right, thank you, sir. The officer will give you some paperwork. Mr. Ortiz, followed by Justin Bittner. Sir, please state your name
Marcelo Ortiz,
and your date of birth.
6/29/96.
Sir, you're here on one charge of criminal damage, a Class 4 felony. I have found you to be indigent. I have also found probable cause as to this offense. I have appointed the public defender to represent you. On this case, there's been a secured appearance bond set in the amount of $5,000. If you post the bond, you're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You're not to have any contact with any of the victims. You're not to have any contact with any complainant or witness, or initiate any contact with any arresting officers. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription or drive without a valid driver's license. You're to continue to provide the court with proof of your local address. Your next court date on this case will be a status conference on March the 18th at 8:30 in the Superior Court at 175 West Madison, with a preliminary hearing on March the 20th at 8:30 in the same court. Do you have any questions, sir?
That's 2 court dates or 1 court date?
Well, the only court that you really need to worry about right now is March the 18th. When you go on the 18th, they'll probably do away with the court date on the 20th. Just listen to what your attorney says on the 18th. The date you need to worry about is March the 18th at 8:30.
Okay, and then am I going to find my case in jail or out of jail?
Well, there's been a bond set in the amount of $5,000. If you post the bond, then you'll be released. If you don't post the bond, you'll be held in custody until at least your next court date.
Okay.
All right, the officer will give you some paperwork, sir. Mr. Bittner, followed by David Treviso.
Open your mouth.
Sir, please state your name.
Justin Bittner, A897.
All right, sir, you're here on the charge of possessing narcotic drugs, a Class 4 felony, and possessing drug paraphernalia, a Class 6 felony. I have found probable causes to these offenses. Check one quick thing. This is actually a bench warrant for failing to appear, so the public defender's already been appointed to represent you, but I'm affirming the appointment of the public defender. On this case, the court has set a secured appearance bond in the amount of $500. If you post the bond, you're not to initiate any contact with the arresting officers. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription or drive without a valid driver's license. You must continue to provide the court with proof of your local address. Your next court date on this case will be a status conference on March the 18th at 8:30 with a possible preliminary hearing on March the 20th at 8:30. It'll be in the Superior Court at 175 West Madison. Do you have any questions, sir?
So I won't be released today?
You will not unless you post a bond.
Oh, okay. I just had to say, so I was, when I came here last time for the initial charge, I was in custody, so I couldn't go to court because I was in custody because I had page 2 for a graffiti warrant. So I had to serve the 10 days, and that's why I didn't come to the court appearance. Is there any reason that you'd let me get out today because of that matter? Or?
No, because even if you served 10 days, you still had time to go to court after you got out, and you didn't contact the court, you didn't contact the public defender's office. You can bring that up with the judge, but just because you happened to be in custody at one point, you knew you had a court date, you didn't make it, and you made no attempts to go to the court after that. So the court is affirming the $500 bond that the judge issued when they issued the bench warrant. All right, the officer will give you the paperwork, sir. Mr. Aguayo, followed by Carmen Pierce. Jesus Aguayo. Number 27. Sir, step up to the podium and tell me your name.
Yes, sir. Jesus Aguayo.
And your date of birth.
7/17/1980.
Okay, sir, you're here on a child support arrest warrant. The judge who issued the arrest warrant set a purge amount, which is like a bond. It's a $500 cash-only appearance bond or purge amount. So you cannot be released unless you post the $500. Your next court date on this case is a return on the bench warrant in the Superior Court on March the 18th at 10 a.m. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, I'm still raising 2 children. Is there any way I can get OR? I know I didn't return just recently.
Sir, on this case, I have absolutely no discretion. The judge has set a purge amount in the amount of $500. You're not going to get out at all until you post that purge amount. The judge will have you come back every 30 days, but on a child support arrest warrant, the court has really no discretion at all. All right? So that's the amount of bond, and your next court date is March the 18th. The officer will give you some paperwork, sir. All right, Carmen Pierce, followed by David Treviso.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, sir.
Cameron Pierce, 43096.
Thank you, sir. All right, sir, you're here on a justice court warrant on the charges of assault, class 1 misdemeanor, disorderly conduct, class 1 misdemeanor. The court has found you indigent. The court at the next court date will appoint an attorney to represent you.
Yes, sir.
The judge, when they issued the warrant, set a bond in the amount of actually, I lowered it slightly, but bond is in the amount of $750.
Yes, sir.
It's a secured appearance bond. If you post the bond, you're not to return to the scene of alleged crime, have no contact with any victim or witness, or initiate any contact with any arresting officers. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription or drive without a valid driver's license.
Yes, sir.
You're to continue to provide court with proof of your local address. Your next court date on this case will be an arraignment hearing on March the 17th at 8:30 in the East Mesa Justice Court. Do you have any questions, sir?
I was wondering if there's any way I can get OR. My stepdad just died a few days ago. My dogs are home alone, and I got to take care of them.
And I appreciate that, sir. I looked at the paperwork. The judge asked for a bond of $1,000. I lowered it to $750, but I can't release you OR on a bench warrant from a justice court.
Okay.
All right, the officer will give you this paperwork. Good luck, sir.
Thank you, sir. You have a good night.
All right, David Treviso, followed by Christopher Shaw. Sir, please state your name.
Floriberto Girona Reguín.
Excuse me?
Floriberto Girona Reguín.
I called David Treviso.
Oh, David Treviso is in isolation there, so.
Oh, we didn't have
He's
him
a
as
house call.
we didn't have him as a house call. Sir, what was your name again?
Floriberto Girona Reguín.
Sir, come on out.
Oh, that's an interpreter matter. That's number 12.
Nobody called you yet. Espera un momento, okay? Siéntese.
All right, let's try Christopher Shaw. Sir, please state your name
Christopher Shaw,
and your date of birth.
July 17th, 1994.
All right, sir, you're here on a fugitive justice warrant. I believe it's from the state of Colorado. Have you had a chance to look at the laminated sheet about your rights to fighting the case out of custody?
Yeah, I did, Your Honor.
All right. You have the right to ask for a hearing to make the state of Colorado issue a governor's warrant, and then the state of Arizona issue a governor's warrant to prove you're the person that they're seeking to basically make you come and get them, have them come and get you. You also have the right to waive the extradition hearing and just agree to go back to Colorado. At this point, do you know whether or not you want to waive your right to an extradition hearing, or would you rather have the extradition hearing?
I have a lawyer on this case, so I'd rather talk to him first.
Okay.
So I'd rather not say any more until I talk to him.
And I think that's very wise counsel, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm affirming the warrant that the amount, the bond that the fugitive state has asked for. So at this point, there's a secured appearance bond of $5,000. If you post the bond, you're not to initiate contact with any arresting officers, possess any drugs without a valid prescription, or drive without a valid driver's license. You're to continue to provide court with proof of your local address. Your next court date on this case is a fugitive justice hearing on March the 24th at 1:30 in the afternoon in the Superior Court at 201 West Jefferson. Do you have any questions at this point, sir?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Good luck.
I gotta give you the paperwork to print it out, okay? Don't print it yet. Okay.
So you're gonna print out the FOJ, or I thought, yeah, I already signed it. I think so. Let me go back. Yeah, I show it's complete on my end. Do you have it? Okay. All right, next we're going to call Michael Wilhelms, followed by Michael Jerko. Sir, please state your name
Michael Wilhelms,
and your date of birth, sir.
October 4th, 1972.
All right, sir, you're charged with possessing dangerous drugs, a Class 4 felony, and possessing narcotic drugs, a Class 4 felony. The court has found probable cause of possession of dangerous drugs only. I have found you to be indigent and appointed the public defender to represent you. On this case, I am going to release you on your own recognizance. You're not to initiate any contact with any arresting officers. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription. You're not to drive a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license. You're to continue to provide court with proof of your local address. Your next court date on this case will be a status conference on March the 27th at 8:30 in the Superior Court at 175 West Madison, with a possible preliminary hearing on March 31st at 8:30. The paperwork the officer will give you will have your court date and the address. Make sure you don't lose that paperwork because you'll need all of that information. Do you have any questions, sir?
Not at the moment.
Okay, sir. The officer will give you some paperwork. Mr. Jerko, followed by Omari Preston.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, sir. Please state your name.
Michael Scott Jericho, 315 of 1960.
All right, thank you, sir. So you're charged with possessing narcotic drugs and possessing dangerous drugs, both Class 4 felonies. The court has found probable cause as to these charges. The court has found you indigent and it's ordered appointing the public defender to represent you. At this point, I'm going to release you to pretrial services, which just requires you to check in with them and follow their directions. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Failure to do that can result in a warrant for your arrest and more severe release conditions. I'm going to go over some of your release conditions. You're not to initiate any contact with any arresting officers. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription or drive without a valid driver's license. You're to continue to provide court with proof of your local address, and you're also to submit to fingerprinting at the arresting police department. The officer will give you an envelope which has the information of how to contact pretrial services. Make sure you contact them upon your release and make all your court dates. Your next court date will be a status conference on March 27th at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on March 31st at 8:30 in the Superior Court at 175 West Madison. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, sir.
All right, step right over there.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. All right, Omari Preston.
Good morning, sir.
No, but he's apparently in isolation somehow. Yeah, which they didn't tell us that. But the guy who came up to the podium when we called his name is the interpreter matter down on Teresa will be hospital. Sorry about that, sir.
No,
Please
you're
state
good.
your name.
Good morning, Omari Preston, March 23rd, 2001.
All right, sir. Sir, you're charged with resisting arrest with passive resistance, a Class 1 misdemeanor. At this point, I don't have enough information to determine indigency. So at this point, I'm not going to appoint a public defender to represent you. I am going to release you on your own recognizance. You're not to have any contact with the alleged victims, which in this case would be the police officers. You're not to initiate any contact at all with the arresting police officers. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription or drive without a valid driver's license. You're to continue to provide court with proof of your local address. Your next court date will be an arraignment hearing on April the 1st at 9 a.m. in the Santan Justice Court. The date and the information on the court will be on the paper the officer will give you. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, sir.
All right, step right over there, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. All right, we have 2 interpreter matters, and then we can do the house calls. You can get language line on the line? That's fine. We're not in any hurry.
Hello, buenos días.
Buenos días. First, we're going to call Ms. Peña.
Ok. Señora Peña, vamos a llamar a la señora Peña. Ok.
Ma'am, please state your name and date of birth.
Señora, por favor, diga su nombre. Ok. Por favor, señora, diga su nombre y su fecha de nacimiento.
Janacy Lázara Peña, junio 17 de 1994.
Ok, junio 17 de 1944.
94.
94, ok. Janice es Janice.
No, es Y. Janacy.
Okay.
Y principio y final.
Ok, entonces sería con S. O sea, Y-A-N-E y de punto S-Y.
Sí.
¿La Sara es con Z? ¿Con S?
Sí, con Z.
Ok, Janacy La Sara Peña. Ok, here we have the name. Y, A, N as in Nancy, E as in I as in iPhone, S as in Sam, Y as in yellow. The last name, L as in lion, A as in apple, Z as in zebra, A as in apple, R as in Robert, A as in apple. Pena, P as in Peter, E as in eagle, N as in Nancy, A as in apple. The date of birth is June 17, 1994.
Ma'am, you've been charged with theft, a class 4 felony, and the court has found probable cause as to that charge.
Ok, muy bien, señora. Entonces, a usted se le ha acusado de homicidio en clase 4 y el tribunal encontró causa probable para ese cargo.
I have appointed the public defender to represent you on this case.
Ok, entonces, tengo designado al defensor público para que le represente en este caso.
Okay.
I am going to release you on your own recognizance.
Ok, entonces voy a liberarle bajo su propia responsabilidad.
I'm going to give you some release conditions. They'll all be in writing.
Ok, le voy a dar algunas condiciones de liberación. Todas estarán por escrito.
You're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime, or you're not to return to any Food City store.
Ok, usted no debes volver al mayor que supuestamente cometió el delito, no debe regresar a ninguna tienda de comestibles de la ciudad.
You'd have no contact with any victim or witness.
Ok, usted no debe tener contacto con ninguna víctima o testigo.
You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription.
Ok, usted no está destinado a comprar medicamentos sin una receta válida.
You're not to drive a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license.
Ok, entonces no debe conducir un vehículo motorizado sin una licencia de conducir válida.
And you are to continue to reside at an address you provide the court.
Ok, entonces continuar residiendo en la dirección que proporcionó al tribunal.
Your next court date will be a status conference on March the 27th at 8:30.
Ok, su siguiente cita judicial será una conferencia de estado el 27 de marzo a las 8:30.
And a possible preliminary hearing on March the 31st, also at 8:30.
Ok. Y también en una posible audiencia preliminar el 31 de marzo, también a las 8:30.
Your court dates will be in the Superior Court in downtown Phoenix at 175 West Madison.
Ok. Su corte, su cita judicial será en el Tribunal Superior en el centro de Phoenix, ubicado en la 175 West Madison.
Do you have any questions, ma'am?
¿Tiene alguna pregunta, señora?
Yeah.
Is that no?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the officer will give you paperwork with your court dates on them.
Ok, el oficial le entregará los papeles con las fechas de su audiencia.
All right, we have one more interpreter matter.
Ok,
And
y tengo
that
un
is
punto más con el intérprete.
Mr. Filiberto Giron, who's now being woken up.
Ok, entonces Flor puertorriqueño, quien ahora está siendo despertado.
Sir, please state your name.
Floriberto Girón Arreguín.
Okay, this is the interpreter speaking. The interpreter requires clarification from the LEP, please.
That's fine.
Okay, el señor diga su nombre, dígalo despacio, que se pueda tomar notas, por favor.
Floriberto Girón Arreguín.
Floriberto. No. Después de Floriberto,
Girón.
Girón. ¿Con G de gato o con J?
Con G de gato.
Okay, ¿el otro apellido?
Arreguín.
Arreguín. Ok, Arreguín con doble R, G de gato, U-I-N. Arreguín. Ok, perfecto.
Sí.
Ok. ¿La fecha de nacimiento?
Your
Fecha de nacimiento.
date of birth.
No, no es inglés.
¿Tu fecha de nacimiento?
Oh, 11/30/1993. 11/30/93.
1900. Ok, señor. Vamos por paso. Me dijo
11/30/1993.
93.
Sí.
Ok, perfecto. Ok, my name is Flori as in boy, E-R-T-O, Floriberto Giron, G as in God, I-R-O-N, Arreguin, A-R-R-E-G-U-I-N, Arreguin. The date of birth is 11/30/1993.
Sir, you've been charged with criminal trespass, a class 4 felony.
Ok, muy bien, señor. Entonces, usted ha sido acusado de allanamiento ilegal en 4 delitos graves.
Also, possession of narcotic drugs, a class 4 felony.
También narcóticos en 4 delitos graves.
And possession of drug paraphernalia.
Ok, y también posesión de parafernalia de drogas.
The court has found probable cause as to those charges.
Ok, el tribunal ha encontrado causa probable en relación con dichos cargos.
The court has found you to be indigent, and the court will appoint counsel at your next court date.
Ok, entonces el tribunal ha determinado que usted es indigente y le asignará un abogado a su próxima cita judicial.
You are going to be released to pretrial services, which requires you to check in with them and follow their directions.
Ok, muy bien. Entonces, se le entregará a los servicios previos al juicio lo que requiere que se registre con ellos y siga sus instrucciones.
I'm going to go over some of your release conditions with you.
Ok, entonces voy a repasar con usted algunas de sus condiciones de liberación.
You're not to return to the scene of the alleged offense.
Ok, usted no podrá volver a la supuesta defensa principal.
You're not to initiate any contact with the arresting officers.
Ok, usted no está iniciando ningún contacto con los oficiales que le arrestaron.
You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription.
Ok, entonces usted no va a ir a comprar cualquier medicamento sin receta válida.
And you continue to provide the court with proof of a local address.
Ok, también puedes seguir viajando en el tribunal con, o sea, tú puedes seguir manejando con un comprobante de domicilio local.
Your next court date will be a status conference on March the 27th at 8:30.
Ok, su próxima cita judicial será una conferencia de estado el 27 de marzo a las 8:30.
Followed by a possible preliminary hearing on March 31st, also at 8:30.
Ok, y sí. Y también, entonces, o mediante el 27 de marzo, o mediante una posible audiencia preliminar el 31 de marzo, también a las 8:30.
That will be in the Superior Court at 175 West Madison in downtown Phoenix.
Ok, y esto será en el Tribunal Superior en la 175 West Madison en el centro de Phoenix.
Sir, do you have any questions?
Señor, ¿tiene alguna pregunta?
No, no, ni una.
All right, make sure you contact pretrial services when you're released from custody.
Ok, asegúrese de comunicarse con los servicios previos al juicio cuando sea liberado de la custodia.
The officer will give you an envelope with information about how to contact them, as well as paperwork with your next court date.
Ok, el oficial le entregará un sobre con la información sobre cómo comunicarse con ellos, así como la documentación para su próxima cita en la corte.
All right, thank you, sir. Step over there.
Gracias, señor. Puede ir por ahí.
All right, thank you for interpreting for us, sir. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Is there anything else I can assist you with?
No, thank you, sir.
Thank you for calling Lion Research Language. Have a great day, sir.
You too. All right, we have actually, gee whiz, a number of house calls. I'll go on the record with my inclinations. First, Mr. Treviso, number 23. The court's inclination was to set a secured appearance bond in the amount of $25,000. Number 24 on Mr. Treviso, court's inclination is to set a bond of $250. And on number 25, set a bond in the amount of $15,000. On Mr. Cobb, number 5, the court's inclination is to set a secured appearance bond of $2,500. On Mr. Howard, number 13 and 14, Number 13, the court's inclination was to set a secured appearance bond of $500. On number 14, set a secured appearance bond also in the amount of $500. On number 10, Miles, the court's inclination is to set a bond in the amount of $10,000 and also have pretrial services supervision if bond is posted. And lastly, Mr. Trujillo, the court's inclination was to release him on his own recognizance. And we'll see. If any of those inclinations change, the court will come back on the record and make the notations on the record. But at this point, we'll go and see the people in custody. At this point, the court will stand in recess until the 8 a.m. calendar. We're off the record.